Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Teachers Tech, and welcome to my beginner's class on Microsoft Excel. The reason I'm creating this class is because I want you to feel more confident using Microsoft Excel. Do you have a job interview coming up and you want to be prepared when they ask you those Excel questions? Maybe this is part of your job requirement and you haven't looked at Excel in a while and you need a refresher on it. Taking a class or a course and the instructor is asking you to do something with Microsoft Excel and you need to know how to do that. Or maybe you just want to make yourself much more marketable with this valuable skill. So in today's class, I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Excel. It's aimed at beginners, but we're going to level all the way up so you're going to feel very confident with Microsoft Excel when you're done it. Let's go ahead and open up Microsoft Excel. Now I have it on my taskbar down below because I use it a lot and I like that quick access. If you don't see it there, you can go to your search and just start typing it in and it should pop open right away. If you want it on your taskbar, just right click on it and you should have some options to pin it to start or your taskbar. I'm going to go ahead and open it at this point right here. And when it pops up, we're going to do a quick walk around this screen. We are going to be working from a blank workbook today, but I just want to point out some things that you're seeing. Now here are previous workbooks, Microsoft workbooks that I've worked on, and I can just open them up again. I want to point out, notice this one says OneDrive and this one says desktop. I can save my Excel workbooks to the cloud, to OneDrive, and I can be sharing them with other people and working with other people at the same time, or I could be just saving them to my computer. The other thing I want to point out are these templates. If you're seeing these ones, these are tutorial templates, which are great step-by-step ones that they have the data in. You just follow along. Just to let you know, I do have a lot of other tutorials on Microsoft Excel, and I'll put links to the description in the description down below and up and above in the card. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so when I do release a new video that you're going to get notified when those come out. So the other thing here is more templates. Now these can save you a ton of time if you're looking for to create something like a budget or a calendar or an invoice, all these different ones. After you're done with this Microsoft Excel beginners class, you'll feel pretty confident manipulating these ones with the data that you want to put in. I'm not going to be covering them directly in this class today. So let's go ahead, we're going to create a blank workbook, and notice if I navigate on the side here from home, I can go to blank workbook here. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this up and we're greeted with the typical Microsoft Excel sheet here. Let's start with some basic terminology and a little bit of a walk around the layout in Microsoft Excel, the workbook that we just created. When we created that workbook, we get one sheet because it's a blank workbook. If we take a look at the bottom, it says sheet 1. We can create more sheets. We can rename these sheets, and I'll go over that later. But when you first start, you just have the one sheet. Inside that one sheet, you're going to have columns, you're going to have rows, you're going to have cells and ranges that you're going to be adding data to. So we can select these columns. So if I go up to C, if I just select C, I've selected the entire column now. So if I, on my mouse, just scroll down, you can see the numbers increasing as I go down and that entire column is selected. I can do the same thing for rows. So if I select this row right here, now I have the entire row of 3 selected, and I could go across and see the letters increase as I went across that way. Where the two intersect, where C and 3 intersect right here, that's a cell. So when I just select one spot like that, that's the cell. In this cell here is C3. If I take a look up at the name box up here, whatever cell I click in, I'll see that B3, D4, it changes. So if you need to quickly just see what cell you're in, take a look at the name box. Another important thing to know is what a range is. A range is when you have a bunch of cells selected. So here's an example. If I select B2, and I'm going to click on my mouse and drag and have a selection area down to here. This is a range right here. It's just not one cell, it's a group of cells. To know what this range is named, it's going to be from this right here. So this is B2, and then you'd have a colon, and you go all the way to E6. So that would be the name of that range. So that's some basic terminology, some important basic terminology to know when working with your worksheet on the sheet here when we first get started. Let's move to the top of the workbook here. I want to talk about the different things between tabs, ribbons, groups, and how to navigate everything here. If we go up, you can see I'm under the Home tab. So what we see here are the different tabs as I click on them. If I click on the File right here, it brings me back to that original page when I just started a blank one, and it has all those options on it. Now I can hit this arrow to bring me back to the workbook and continue working on it. So these are the tabs across the top. Underneath every tab, we have the ribbon. So the ribbon is this area right through here. And this is all customizable too. I can change the ribbon and the tabs to add more. Mine might even look different than yours. And I'll show you later on how you can customize that. But inside the ribbon, so if we take a look at this font right here where it says font, this is a group. So this right here is a group inside the ribbon. And we can go one more step after this because not everything is listed in this group. And whenever you see this right here, I can click on it and it gives me more functionality. So under the font, I can see all these different things through here that I can apply. So this is just a little walk around of what we're seeing. We have our tab across the top. Inside the tab, we have a ribbon. Inside the ribbon, we have groups, and then we can expand for more functionality whenever you see this. Now, the thing I want you to do before we move on is actually to save our page before we start entering the data. So let's do it this way. We could go from save up here, but for this first time, I just want to go back to File. And at this point, I'm going to go save as. I could go save as because I haven't saved this workbook yet. But if I go save as, it brings me to a few different places I could save it. This cloud is for OneDrive, so I could save it into my OneDrive account if I wanted to do that. I could even save it into SharePoint sites here, and I have other accounts connected to this as well. If you want to save it to your computer, you could go this PC or browse. So if I go browse here and just go to my desktop, I have a folder, beginner's class here. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. What do I want to call this book? So maybe this would be, I'm just going to call this class 1, just like this. You can call it what you want, and I'm going to hit save. Now, as soon as I hit save, we're back on the page that we've been working on. I want to show you right up here. So this is called class 1. It's an Excel file, and it's saved to this PC. So then I can drop down and get some more information about this. But remember, you can also save it to OneDrive, and then you can access it through the cloud. Let's move on now, and let's start inserting some data into this workbook. So the data that we're going to be entering in today is going to be the top grossing movies of all time. If you took my previous Microsoft Excel tutorial, beginner's tutorial, you know that I use that too, but I have a feeling that the amounts in the data has changed since then. Now I'm going to click in A1 and I'm going to just type the first column heading that I want, and it's going to be rank. So go ahead, click in A1 and type rank. I am going to say I'll have all these workbooks that I show you today. I'll put the link down below in the description so you can download it and open it up in Microsoft Excel, and you can follow along with the data that I provide you. So we have rank here, and then I can go over to B2. So if I click in B2, I can write the next one, which is going to be title. So this is going to be title of the movie. So I'm just going to put title just like that. Now I've been clicking with my mouse to go to the next one. You might want to use tab on your keyboard. So if I hit tab, that moves it over. I could use the arrow keys to go around and to navigate. So there's different ways you can do this. Now in this column, I want to put worldwide gross. So this is going to be what the movie brought in with all, whether it be domestic or foreign, everything like that. So this is going to be worldwide gross. And notice right away, if you're new to Excel, it looks like that I typed it in C, and you can see in the formula bar up here that it's there, but it looks like it's in D. If I go to D and I'm going to put my next one in, it's going to be domestic gross. So if I type in domestic gross right here, and I better spell that correctly. And if I click off of it, did I delete anything from here? No, I didn't, because the cells are separate. So if I click in C1, I can see worldwide gross, and domestic gross, I can see it there. Now we can change the width of our columns by going up, and as soon as we get this symbol, I can click and hold and stretch the column. So notice I can make it as wide or narrow, just like that. A quick way to do it though is to go up in between, and then if I double click, it automatically adjusts to what's written in there right now. So if a title becomes longer still, and I do that, it will adjust to the widest part so I can see everything. And I'll show you what I mean as I move forward. So if we go to the next one, domestic gross, I could do that and it adjusts. So we have domestic gross, and then I'm going to put year. Now I'll be probably adding more columns later and I'll show you how to do that, but that's what we're going to start with right here. I want to show you a quick way you can adjust everything. I'm going to make these smaller. I can select everything on the worksheet here by just selecting this up here. So if I click this button, everything on the worksheet is selected. So if I was applying a format, everything would be changed. So if I said bold, everything becomes bold. Even these cells, so if I enter something in later, it's still going to be bold if I turn it off. But I can adjust, if I have everything selected and I double click between any of these, notice how it adjusts everything to fit. Now again, I might have to adjust that later, because as I start typing in different amounts or titles, that's going to be much wider. So now that we've got some titles in, let's go to our next step. If you're finding the font a little bit small and you want to adjust your view without changing any of the font size or anything, you can do this in a few different ways. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the zoom. So I can click up to get a different view. I can slide that. And under the view tab up top, check in the ribbon. We have different zoom tools here as well to get it just the way you want to make everything comfortable. Now, let's talk a little bit about formatting. I'm going to go back to the Home tab and different ways that we can change the look here. So if I click into a cell once, I want to show you the difference between a single click to a double click. If I click this cell, A1, and I start typing something, notice that it just defaults over top. It just deletes what was there before. Here's a tip. You can use Control-Z or the back arrow up here to undo your last step. So I'm just going to go Control-Z. And if I wanted to just modify what's in there already, I can do this in a couple different ways. I could double click and go in here and type ranking. Notice it didn't delete anything. The other way, I'm going to just go Control-Z again. The other way I could do this, I can go right up into the formula bar and click in here and then add there. And now I've changed it from there. So I would have to adjust this just like that, like I've showed you before. So I can also go back and delete things. So just some ways to, to make some modifications to what you've already added. Now, let's talk about changing, things from maybe you want a different font to start with. I can select one cell at a time or a range of cell to apply those. So I could select one cell like this. I could make the change to a font to a different one. But probably in this, if I knew that I wanted to be all the same, I could select, and I'm just using my mouse to drag across, and I could go ahead and then select on the drop down of my font and choose the same one and make the adjustments that I showed you before. If I select everything and then just adjust for everything to fit. I could make some changes to color. So if I was going to go and choose maybe a red, if I wanted red, so the font becomes a red, I can change the background of the cell. So if I drop down, is there a color that you would like? I'll say green, and then I've made some adjustments. We can do the same thing with borders around these. So I need to select the area that I want to apply the borders. I have some right here. They give you some quick ones. So if you want all borders, do you want to just thick outside around? I can choose, I can even draw the border around. So if I click it, These don't show up that well. It wasn't that thick for what I have, but it's around the outside now. If I don't want them right now, I could go back and drop down, and then all I have to do is look for no borders, and it's there. Now, I want to point out, if you do change, and I kind of mentioned this before, if you select everything and then you apply, let's say, a color to it. So if I was going to say, we're going to make sure everything is going to be this color here. If I type anything at this point, and if I just type hello, notice that the color is applied to everywhere. Even if I go over here, since I had the whole sheet selected, it's changed everywhere. So that's be careful if you're going to change everything that way. I'm just undoing with a couple of Control Z's to get back to my previous step. Now, how I like to add titles, and this makes it an easy way, is to be using cell styles. So if I go and just highlight this again, I'm under the Home here, a Home tab. If I look in the ribbon, look for styles. And some of these other things are very important, like conditional formatting and format as a table, and we'll get that to later on. But if I go to cell styles, look at the different ones I can quickly pick. So if I hover over, you can see an idea of what I have. So if you just hover over, and if I find something that I like, I'm going to go with the blue right here. And now I quickly adjusted the style just by using this one, cell styles. So we have some information in here. I'm going to go collect the data and put it in here so we can move on from there. Remember, just download the sheet down below in the description, and then you'll be able to have all the data that I'm showing you here today. So if you've downloaded the Excel workbook, this is what you should be working with, and this is where we're going to continue from. I have 15, so the top 15 here. So there is some formatting to do here that I'm going to make some changes to. The first thing what I want to point out is notice that the title, like I mentioned before, you're not seeing the words, the titles come up. So I could make this larger. So if I click in between the two, double click, and it stretches it this way. So that's one way I could do it. If you didn't want it to stretch out like that, let's say you wanted it just to be differently, we could wrap text in a cell. So if I go and highlight the information that I want to wrap the text, notice under Home, under Alignment, we have Wrap Text. So if I hit Wrap Text, what it does, it didn't expand the cell wider. It just wrapped the text into that one cell, so it's wider. The row height is higher here. So wrapping text might be an option if you want it that way. I'm going to just go Control Z, and I'm going to go with this method here just to stretch it out because I should have the room. But I'm going to show you why I might want to change this in a moment. Now, the other thing what I want to do is I want to add a title to this. So I want to add something above the top here, and I can insert more rows. I can insert more columns or rows. What I'm going to do is just on top of the number 1, when I hover over it, I'm going to right click, and notice I have insert. So I can go insert, and I just inserted another row. And I want to be able to call this the top 15 movies of all time. And I could write it in A1, but what I want to show you is you can merge cells too. So there's all these cells right through here. If I go ahead and select this right through here and click merge, and notice there's more options here: merge and center, merge and across. So depending, and I can even unmerge if I don't want the merge. So if I say merge and center, if I go ahead and just double click in here, the cursor is in the middle, then I could say top grossing movies of all time, just like that. So, and I have this title here that's centered across all the top. And I can go ahead and make the changes to, like I showed you before with the cell style. So maybe if I go and highlight both, I could go back to cell styles, and you can pick what you would like as one through here. So whether it be one at a time, or is it just going to be that one, and you get an idea of what it would look like. Do you want it to be the same? So I'm going to choose this one right here. So you pick what you want. So we've inserted another row. I do want to point out anything if I click on a cell, right click on C here, there is the insert here as well. Let's do a little bit more formatting with our dollar symbols now. So we have all our worldwide gross here in our domestic, and I want to format this with dollars. I could select one and format anything. If I go up top, I can select my dollar, and notice right away it puts these number signs in like that. If you ever see that, what's happening is there's not enough room in that cell. So for an example, if I stretch this out, now it comes out. So if you ever see that the number signs across like that, then that's what's happening, and you can just format the column width and then it's going to fit and see. So I'm just going to undo, because normally what I would do is change maybe everything at once rather than one at a time. So I know these are all dollar amounts, and then I can go back and click up here. I still have the same issue. I can double click in between and it will stretch out to remove that. Now, I want to point out you can choose different countries, whether it be Canada, US, UK, all these different options. And then we have, right now under accounting, we have the commas in there. So if it was just number, it goes back to this one. And currency, you can see kind of the different formats of each one as we go through the different ones. So I'll just leave it like this. And then the next thing I just want to show you is what this would look like if you try to print this. And I want to point out this line. There's a perforated line between C and D. This shows me in the current way that it's printing in a portrait that this is where the cutoff would be. So if I go over to File, and I'm going to go to Print here, and then take a look. So this is where where the perforated line was. This is actually 2 pages. So this wouldn't work very well to print it like that. One thing you could do, you could change the landscape to landscape orientation, and then it's going to fit across. So you can make that quick adjustment. If you wanted to keep it in portrait, you'd have to make some changes to this to fit. So if I was going to go back, you could try making this column not as wide, but you're going to lose some of this. So this is where maybe you want to try the wrapping. So if I click it once, then twice, and then I can make it a little bit smaller in here. And at this point, I notice the line is right here after E. I could try some other things like changing font size. If I go back to File and Print now, you'll notice everything's fitting on that one page. Now there's lots of other things under page layout under here. So to set up breaks and everything, I have a different video all about printing in Microsoft Excel. So I'll make sure I'll link that as well. Now I want to go over basic Excel formulas. I'm going to do this on another sheet. So first of all, let's rename this sheet rather than the sheet 1. I'm going to call this Top Movie. So I'm just going to go ahead, type that in like that. If I right click on this too, I just want to point out you can rename and delete sheets, and you have different options, even a tab color. So I could go ahead and change it. I'm going to go ahead, add a new sheet, and this is just going to be a practice formula. So I'm just going to type, well, I typed that in the wrong cell. I got to go be down here. So formulas, just out here, and I could make it a different color if I wanted to as well. So I could toggle between both back and forth. Okay, so formulas inside Microsoft Excel. The most important thing to remember is when you're starting a formula, you need to start this with an equal sign. So what I mean is if I go to this cell and I want a formula, I could use this as a calculator, but I have to put the equal sign in, and then I could say 2, and let's say plus 3 equals 2 plus 3, hit enter, it's 5. But 5 isn't in this cell. If I click in the cell and look in the formula bar, this is what's in the cell, equals 2 plus 3. If I don't put the equals in, it will not work. So just so you know that, you always have to start a formula with an equals. Now, what makes Excel powerful is cell referencing. So what I mean by that is, so I'm going to go ahead and put a number up here. So this is going to be 5, and we'll put 6 here. And I'm going to start another formula, remember, with the equal sign, with cell referencing. So this time, if I put equals and click on C3 and then say, well, let's go ahead and multiply. So the multiply is going to be the above the 8, the star here. Multiply what? Well, I could put a number in, or I could click on another cell. So this is going to be C3 times D3, which should be 30, 5 times 6. Hit enter, and I have 30. If I click on the cell, look at the formula bar here, and there it is. So this is what makes it Microsoft Excel powerful. If one of these numbers change, so if this changes to 10, I type 10, hit enter, this automatically adjusts because it's cell referenced, and if the cell changes, then the formula will adapt with the new cell reference. It's not really a number. The number 10 isn't in this formula. It's the cell that's in this formula. So that's just a little bit to know about kind of the walkthrough of working with basic formulas. So let's go back over to top movies and add a formula now. What we're going to want to add is going to be the worldwide gross minus the domestic gross, and that will give us a foreign gross. So to do this, though, we need another column. Well, we could add the column here, but I kind of want it right after. So to do this, I'm going to insert first. So I'm going to just select this column, E, and I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to hit insert, and notice to the left, it inserted this, and this adjusted up top. Everything stayed center as well. Now, this is where I'm going to place my formula inside this. So what do I want to call this? Well, this I said was going to be foreign, so I'm just double clicking in there so that this is foreign gross, just like this. So I'm going to go and label it. Now, inside of this, I'm going to also go to the center, just so it's all the same. And I'm going to go and start my formula. First thing you have to do is start with an equal sign. And we're going to be cell referencing. So if we go equals, what's the first cell? Well, it's going to be worldwide gross minus, so then we just go ahead and select our subtract key, is going to be domestic gross. And just like that, we can hit enter. And we have an amount here. Now, this is where Microsoft Excel, again, is powerful. We created this cell formula. So if we look up here, we can see C3 minus D3. I can copy this all the way down without having to do that to each cell. You could do this in a few different ways. You can drag down like this. What I tend to do is just double click. I hover over onto this green little square and I double click, and it automatically fills down. It knows where to place it. So it made that formula in every one. So for example, if I click on this cell, notice it's C4 minus D4. It changed. This was C3 minus D3 because it knows when I copied it down that I needed to adjust which row I was talking about. So it always adjusts, so I didn't have to go through to each one to create it. Now, there is something called absolute cell reference, and I will talk about that a little bit later, because sometimes you don't want it to automatically copy down. You might have a cell in one place and you need it to stay frozen to that. And I will show you an example of that in just a moment. Let's go back over to our formulas page, practice page here, and talk about just absolute cell referencing. And this is just going to be a little example on it to help you get your mind around it. But I have a different video on formulas and absolute cell referencing, and I'll make sure I'll link those as well. So we have some numbers. These are just numbers, no formulas or anything in them. And I'm going to create a formula right here. I'm going to say equals, it's going to be this A7 multiplied by B7, just like that. But I'm also going to connect it to a different cell. I'm going to say subtract this cell right up here. So let's hit enter. So 5 times 3 is 15. Take away 6 is 9. If this number changed, this would automatically change as well. So now the problem is if I go ahead and copy this down, so if I just go and double click or pull it down, whatever way you want, let's check if these are right. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract 4 should be 4. And 3 times 1 is 3. Minus 4 should be negative 1. So something's wrong here. So if I click into the cells, so as I copied it down, notice this is D3. This is D3. I need to make sure this is always pulling from D3. It can't move. So when I go down to this next one, it's pulling from D4. This is D4 right here. So it's pulling 0. And that's why 4 times 2 is 8 minus 0 is 8. 3 times 1, if we go down, now it's moved down to D5. Because when you copy it down like that, it will keep moving like I showed you when we did top movies. What I need to do though is turn this into an absolute cell reference. So if I go back to D3 here, I'm just going to click in here and I need to put dollar signs around this. So what I mean is the way I do this is just to use my F4 key or function F4. You can put your dollar signs in front of each of these, in front of the D and the 3. And if I hit enter, it looks like nothing changed. But watch, when I copy this down now, if I copy that down 4 and -1, if I look at each cell, it's pulling from D3. It's staying connected to here. So that's an absolute cell reference. Again, check the other videos that I have about that I list in the playlist and down below in the description. Now, it's really important that you understand the formulas and functions are a key, again, to make Microsoft Excel go to that next level. And we're going to do a few basic ones here. I'll show you how to access these, but remember, I do have lots of different videos on different functions inside Microsoft Excel. So I do want to put a function down here, build a formula with a function in it to sum up our total amounts and find average. First thing though, you notice how when I scroll down that this disappears all the time. You can freeze your row or whether it be a column in place so you can always see what's in it. So maybe if it was names, if it was a long column over, but in this case, it's going to be a row. So if I select number 3, here, there's just this entire row. I'm going to go and freeze so anything above it will stay in place. So I like using this search too, because if I can't find something under a tab, I can just search for what I'm looking for. And let's say freeze pane, and I'm going to go freeze panes here. So now what happens is I can go and scroll down and this always stays in place like that. If you want it gone, you can go back and unfreeze it the same way, just have it selected and then go back and unfreeze it and it will be gone. Okay, let's move down to the bottom. Let's try and insert just a quick formula in here, or sorry, a function inside the formula. So we're going to go to formulas right here, look on the tab, and we're going to show a few different ways how we do this. And this is just going to be a quick one with the auto sum. So if I click on it, well, what do I want to sum? I could click sum. And it went through and chose everything from this down to here. And it looks like that's pretty much right. It is choosing this one right here. So whether or not I don't want C18, I could go through and just hit 17 and it adapted here. There was nothing in that cell. So if I hit enter, now it's added just like that. So it's that quick. And I can copy these over. So if I was just dragging this over, now it's summed up domestic because it moved over. Notice the columns, D3 to D17, this is D. So it's able to copy those over. If I go down here below, I could use these here. Is there an average that I want? I could hit average here. Well, it's not of that right here above. It is going to be these ones. So I could go and select the range that I need, hit enter, and now I have an average of everything. So that quick to use them. Now, what I like is they have the function library here, so they break it into categories for you, so you can see whether it be financial, text, date and time, all these different ways. But we're not diving into all those on this tutorial. I want to show you a couple different ways that you could enter your formulas. I'm going to delete these for now. So I just selected and hit delete on my keyboard. I tend to use a different method. So you could go from right here, hit insert function, and you can search. So if I was looking for sum, I could go and there's sum right there, could select it. What's the range I want? I could put it in. I see it has the right range that I want. I could adjust it, or I could go ahead and select my range just like I did before, and then hit OK after. So that's another way you could insert your function. I'm going to delete this. What I tend to do, if you know what you're looking for, I start my formula with that equal sign, and then I just start typing the function that I need. And it goes through alphabetically, looks for it. Here it is, sum. I can double click on this, and I could put in my range. I could type it in what I want, or I could select my range like I've showed you every time before, hit enter, and there it is. So this is the way I tend to do it, but if you're just starting, you probably want to either try under the formulas tab or through here. But then after a while, you'll probably notice that once you know what you're looking for, start with the equals. If I was looking for average, I could go ahead and then select average. I could go select what I need from there. So I don't have to select everything. If it was averaging a couple, I could do that. We can copy them over just like that. So you see how you have a lot of these different options with the functions, and there's so many, and this is where it brings everything to the next level using Microsoft Excel. I want to talk about sorting and filtering in Microsoft Excel now, and I just wrote some random stuff just as an example before I show it on the list here that we've been working on. But with sorting and filtering, I can sort based on numbers, or I could go alphabetically, and I'll show you some different ways we can do this. But let's say in this case right here, if I highlight these things, you can see 8265. And if I go up to, if I'm under the Home tab and I go to sort under editing here, and I wanted to sort maybe the smallest to largest. So number 2 should become the first. Notice mouse is next to number 2. If I select it, it changed it. So now I have 2, 5, 6, 8, but all of these changed, they stayed with it. Now I could also do it a different way. If I was going to go and highlight and go back to sorting and filtering, maybe do a custom sort, and I could go sort HI based on the cell values this time, and it's going to be also on A to Z. So if I hit OK, notice now that it's cat, dog, fish, mouse, because that's the alphabetical order, and the numbers moved around to it. So just a little bit about sorting some data that way. I'm going to go and delete this right now. Another way, what I like to do is add a filter to this. So I'm going to go and highlight my row here just of the headings, and I'm going to go back to sort and filter. I'm going to add a filter to this. So if I select filter, I get all these drop downs now on all the ones that I chose. I'm going to just show you from year. I could filter from smallest to largest, largest to smallest. So maybe I want to see by 2023 coming out first. So that would be this one. And they put 2023, and I can see right now it's the Barbie movie for this one, and it sorts them all the way to Titanic in 1997. I could also search for an individual year on this. So if I go back to my sort, and right now everything is selected, I could hit select all and then look for 2015 and hit OK. And now it gave me back all the movies in the year 2015 that came out, and I can see the different ones through here. So it's not the complete list. If I want to go back and see everything again, I could select all, hit OK, and then I have. So this really lets you drill down on the data that you have. I have a short list here, but imagine if you had hundreds or thousands of entries and you wanted to start filtering it for something specific in it. This could save you a lot of time. Now I want to show you how you can chart inside Microsoft Excel. This is just touching the surface of it. I have a different video that I go through extended charting. I'll take a look at that if you want to learn more about it. I'll put a link to in the description down below and up above in the card. And the other thing is to change your rank. If you still have your filter on, you can show your rank to the smallest to largest. So filter this one. So then we're back to our top. Now, we don't have to create a chart for the whole thing. We're going to start by just doing the top 5. So what I want to do is actually, I'm going to highlight from title over here to worldwide growth. So I'm just going to do this selection here. Now, then if I go up to insert, and we look under charts, we have all these different charts here. We can go through these quick ones. We knew if we wanted to see the different types of bar charts in here to the pie ones. I'm going to go to recommended charts. So I'm going to select this, and then it gives you an idea. If you go to all charts, you can see everything. I'm just going to start with this basic one right here, and I'm going to hit OK. At this point, the graph plops in here into it. I can move it around. I can click and hold. When you click and hold it, make sure you kind of get into this area. I'm just going to place it right here. Now, if I want to expand the data that's going to be in the graph, all I have to do is look at this area and I can go and pull it over. So if I pull this over one more to domestic gross, then it's going to be added in here. So it's an easy comparison visually. I can see which one has done the best for domestic versus the other ones. I could even bring it over again to show foreign gross. And I can grow it the other way. So if I wanted it more than just the top 5, if I wanted it to be maybe 7, then I have even more in here. So I can make those adjustments very quickly, even after I started making the graph. So now what I can do is even make some more changes to this. Do I want some elements? And you can do it in a number of different ways. Right now, I don't have any chart title on, and I can be adding and I can make some quick style changes up here. So first of all, let's try a styles change. So if I go, I like this one with a contrast and I select it, it pops a little bit more. I can still adjust all this information, but this gives me a quick way just to kind of get started with the styles. And I'm going to leave it there. But I want to add some more things to this. If I go over to add chart element, what do I want to add to it? Do I want an axis? Do I want axis titles onto this? Do I want chart titles? Well, let's go with a chart title. So if I click on this, now I have a chart title. Sometimes it defaults with this depending on what you chose. So I'm just going to go, I can click in here. What's the chart title? I'll just say top grossing movies here. And I'll just leave it just like that. And I'll click off. So I've made that change. Notice when I click on the chart, I get all these different options under chart design. I get another tab that comes up. So if I click off of it, it's gone. Click on it, it's there. Let's add something else. And I'm only going to add a couple things here, but if I drop down and then I go to, let's say I want a legend, I could choose to have a legend on the right-hand side, and then I choose it. So right there, now I have my legend here. It's pulling it from this different series names across the top here. So I'm quickly adjusting this as I go through. I can change colors at any time through here. And I have quick layouts too. So if I wanted to still make more changes, you could try hover over different ones. If you wanted things to be just differently presented, you can see what works and what doesn't work when you choose different ones. Try that approach. If you like, maybe I like it at the bottom right here and I'll leave it. Then I've adjusted it like so. If any number changes in here, it will dynamically affect what the chart looks like. So here's an extreme example here. So for Avatar, if this was going to 5,000, this won't even show up anymore when I hit enter. Notice it's gone right through here because it doesn't even register for the other one. So I'm going to go Control Z, put it back, undid that last one, and then it's back. So everything's dynamic. If this changes, the chart will change as well. If you go through and double click on the chart, you do get formatting options through here from the fill to border. I'm not going to show you everything on here. I just want to show you where you can go through and play. You can change different areas. So if it was things like the legend, what do you want to change in it? So right now, if it was no fill or automatic, you could choose maybe a solid fill. And right there, the color's there, but I could adjust it to a different color just like that. So I can make all these changes to it. And if you close out, if you right click on the chart, you can see there's lots more options that you can do. You can change the chart type from here, save it as a template, move the chart. You can save this as a picture as well. Now I could go through, if I was going to go and check file and then print, it gives me an idea of what it's looking like right here because I had the chart selected on it. So since this was selected, that's what I chose to print. If I click off of it into here and I go file, print, now notice that it's I would have to do some formatting on the pages, how it's going through, and probably I'd want to change it from landscape, and I probably change the size of the page and everything, but it gives you an idea of the different ways. So if you just wanted the chart printed, just select that and then hit print. So that's a little bit about charting inside Microsoft Excel. The last thing I just wanted to show you today, and I mentioned at the beginning, was about customizing your ribbon for Microsoft Excel. I'm going to go just up here, and you can right click in a few different places. I could right click here like this, or up here. You're going to get customize the ribbon. I'm going to select that. I'm just going to stretch this out so we can see everything. And I'm going to move this over so we can just compare. Notice, I'll shrink this. We have home, insert. Here's the home, here's the insert. Draw isn't selected, so it's not showing up. Page layout is there. So that's where all these tabs are showing up. Now, if I wanted to add a new tab, I could go ahead and click New Tab. And this top level one, maybe I wanted to rename it, and I'll just call this Demo for today's purposes. Hit OK. What do I want to add to this? Well, I have to add to the group. So if I wanted to add, well, I'm going to add cut, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to add freeze pane to this and insert picture. So kind of random, but I added these things to this. When I hit OK, look at that, demo is there, and then I have my group that I created. So you can create your own ones if you just want that easy access, rename things the way you want. I can go back, right click, customize. If you don't want this anymore, I could go back, choose if I wanted to delete, maybe remove the group or remove the demo. I can just go through and do that. The other thing I wanted to point out, we do have our quick access toolbar at the very top above the tabs. This is all that's on it right now, but if I wanted to have maybe cut on it, I can add it. Or maybe I want to have, we'll just add one more in here. It's going to be insert table, add. If I hit OK, now across the top, this is how you customize your quick access. So you find those ones you just want to go up and click on it. It will save you a bit of time. So I hope you like this walkthrough today, this beginner's class on how to use Microsoft Excel. It just really touches the basis of it, but it sets you up ready to move on now. Let me know what else you want to learn. Do take a look at the other tutorials if you want to dig in deeper. I will have another class coming out, whether it be an intermediate or beginner's class 2. Let me know the things specifically you'd like to know. Thanks for watching this time on Teacher's Tech. I'll see you next time with more tech tips and tutorials.